Hey guys, it's Rob Dabney with ADV Pulse, and we're here in the Tillamook State Forest of Oregon testing the new DR-Z4S. This is Suzuki's completely revamped do-it-all dual sport, and we're finally getting a chance to try it out. So as you know, this bike was first introduced in the year 2000, but they haven't changed it more than small, tiny updates in the last 25 years. So just starting from the top, we've got a tapered aluminum handlebar instead of the old steel bar that had the crossover bar. So this is gonna be a lot lighter and stronger. We've got now an upside down fork, and this has been completely revalved, resprung, and it now has 11 inches of suspension travel instead of 11.3, so it lost a little bit of travel, but it's gonna get a lot more stability with that upside down fork now. They've also redone all the bodywork. It's got a little bit of a flatter seat design, lets you get up on the tank further than before. We've also got a plastic cover here over the tank, but underneath here it's metal. Now you've got this beauty cover for it, so if you do hit a rock, fall over, tip over, you just need to replace the plastic. And this is now a Euro 5+ compliant machine in terms of the emissions. The old version from last year was a Euro 2 compliance. So this is now a world bike. Now they can sell it Europe, all over the place, not just North America. And I know that's got a lot of the Europeans excited to be able to ride this bike again. So in order to meet that Euro 5+ standard, they had to completely redesign this engine. It now has a redesigned piston, the crankshaft has been redesigned, even the oil flow has been redesigned to make it more efficient and flow oil with less friction. There's new camshafts as well as new valves. Everything inside this engine has been changed to make it quieter, more fuel efficient, and also cleaner. And one other thing that they've changed to make it Euro 5 compliant is they've added 2 catalytic converters in Europe. Here in the US, there's just one in the header pipe. In the European markets, they're gonna get one in the header as well as the exhaust. The engineers tell us that there is no power difference between the two, whether you have 2 cats or just one. You also get a slipper clutch now, which is a really nice feature. It's got this slip assist clutch, which gives you a really nice buttery feel when you're taking off in loose terrain. There's no hoppiness to the clutch. It grabs hard when you need it to, and you just get really smooth modulation for that slippery terrain. It also won't chatter when you're downshifting hard, and you won't get that lockup feel. So it will continue to spin that rear tire when you're getting aggressive on your downshifting. Now it has more horsepower and torque in the lower RPMs as well as in the upper RPMs, but in that mid-range, it has lost a little bit of peak power. So what you have is a very flat power curve now, and it's making this bike even easier to ride, much smoother, and just a great bike for an intermediate rider to get used to riding off-road with no surprises. So along with that new smooth motor, they've also got a whole bunch of new electronics. You've got traction control now, as well as ABS, and even throttle maps. Throttle maps, you've got A, B, and C. A is very aggressive, C is sort of like a rain mode. Then with the traction control, you have the level 1 and 2 for the street, and then you can turn it off as well, but you also have a G mode, which is for gravel, and that's the off-road specific traction control. Then with the ABS, it's just a 1-button push, and you can automatically turn off all of your ABS, both front and rear wheels, but you can just do the rear wheel only and keep the front on. So we've got a ton of changes on this bike. We've got a completely new frame. It's now a twin spar design. It still holds the oil in the frame like the old one. It's got a aluminum rear subframe, as well as the LED lighting. It's all new LEDs. The new headlight is supposed to be much brighter. We didn't get to test it at night, but it's supposed to be a lot brighter. So what is the same? You do have the same size engine. It's a 398cc single cylinder water-cooled engine, but like I said, it's been refined, and it's still a 5-speed. And I know a lot of people have been a little disappointed about that, but they have actually improved the smoothness of this engine significantly to actually make it a better bike for the highway. So you still have the same 21-inch front wheel and 18-inch rear, but they actually improved the brakes. They're now 30 millimeters bigger, the rotors, so that really has improved the stopping power on this bike, and they do work excellent. Along with that new fuel efficiency, they made some changes to the fuel tank too. They made this tank smaller, and it still has the same range, but now it's a little slimmer design, and you're gonna have some weight reduction from that. But overall, the bike has gained about 16 pounds, and that is primarily because of the extra weight added from the fuel injection as well as the new exhaust system. It's still the same reliable Suzuki that has the excellent valve check, maintenance, and you don't have to change oil so frequently like you would with a performance dual sport. It's 3,500 miles for the oil changes, and it's 14,500 for valve clearance checks. It's actually somewhere in the 1,000-mile oil changes on some of those KTMs or Betas. So that's what this bike is really good at, is just being a super reliable, do-it-all dual sport that you can ride on the street, has the refinement to get on those dirt trails and do some aggressive riding. So we've been riding this bike for 2 days now here in Oregon, and it's really the perfect place for a bike like this. For someone who lives in the city and has maybe a 20-minute or 30-minute commute to get to the trails, you can basically just hop on this bike, jump on some back roads, and be on the trail in minutes. So this is the perfect bike for that kind of environment. You don't need to have a truck to throw it in to get out to the trails. You just ride to the trail on this bike. And when you're on the highway doing 65, this thing is very smooth, even though it only has a 5-speed. Once you get up to about 68 miles an hour, you do start to feel a little bit of the buzz, and you start to notice that it's revving a little bit high. It's still tolerable at 70, but this isn't the kind of bike that you're gonna get on big freeways and go for a 2-hour drive out to the trail. So we did some twisty pavement on this bike, getting out to the trail, and actually does really well on the street. It feels like you're on a supermoto. These dual sport tires, they're from IRC. They grip very well on the street. There's no weird behavior like you would with a more performance dual sport. There's no diving and squat. It's a nice stable platform, and there's plenty of power to pass cars. Like I said, it's not the best highway cruiser, but for back roads it's fantastic, and it's a lot of fun in the twisties. So the new brakes are a significant improvement. For just a single caliper, this thing comes to a halt very quickly. You can just get a lot of feel out of the brake too in the turns on the street. You have the ABS system, but even if you turn that off, the brakes have tons of feel and lots of grip. So both front and rear, big improvement in the brakes. That was one of the things I was most impressed with on this bike. So as far as street performance, they've just done a very good job with giving it good street manners. It has a very comfortable seat. It's been widened a little bit to make it have more support. And I gotta tell you, this seat is one of the most comfortable dirt bike seats I've tried out. We rode sitting down a lot on some of these highway roads for over an hour, and I never got sore. There's some adventure bikes out there that I would like to put this seat on. But as far as the ergos, it's a little bit cramped. I'm a 6'2". They've tried to make this a lower seat height bike for more of the average height rider and shorter riders. So I do feel like my knees are a little bit cramped on this bike. I would actually put a taller seat on it. So if you're a taller rider, it's something to consider. But the bar height felt about right. In the seated position, it's a comfortable bike that you can just cruise around all day. Off-road, the stand-up position, all I needed to do was just sort of tilt the bars forward a tad, and it felt very comfortable after that. The bike comes with rubber covers for the foot pegs. It's just a really unstable feel if you go off-road with those on, so we took those off immediately. But as far as the foot peg position, everything feels pretty standard dirt bike. As far as the bump absorption, the new fork handled fantastic. It's a little bit less travel now, but I never had any problems bottoming it out. The rear, on one jump, I did do a little bit of a bottom out on it. It wasn't a hard bottom. You could just kind of feel that it hit the stoppers. As far as the aggressive riding, it is a little bit limited on the suspension. It's designed to be more plush, and for that, it does a fantastic job. Going through some rock gardens, I mean, you just don't even feel the rocks. Keeps a nice straight line. It's just once you start getting up to the more aggressive speeds, you start to feel the weight of this bike a little bit. This bike weighs 333 pounds, which is about 60 pounds heavier than some of the performance dual sports. So if you're trying to do really technical, hardcore off-road or bang through whoops in the desert, yeah, you'll notice there's a limitation in the performance. But for this kind of trail riding up here in the forest, it was fantastic, and I never really felt like I needed more. And unless you're really in a racing mindset, you know, if you're that kind of rider, maybe this isn't the bike for you. It's really a bike that a new off-road rider or an intermediate off-road rider, or just someone who's ridden for years off-road, but they're not trying to go that fast anymore. It's the kind of bike that they would really enjoy. And even if you are an aggressive off-road rider and you want a bike to just go cruise trails and go explore, this is not going to let you down. It is actually a very fun bike to ride fast on, and only at the very fastest speeds will you start to notice its limitations. And one of the things that really helps it is the electronics. I am not one to be a big fan of electronics, but I will say that this does a very good job. So let me just give you an example. If you are trying to get up a very steep hill for the first time, and if you know it's going to be loose and rocky, if you go with no traction control, you're going to be sliding all over the place, kind of tight and nervous. And if you were to just put the G mode traction control on that and just have it set for a lighter throttle control, like the B mode, which is a little bit softer hit, and you'll be much smoother on the throttle, and whenever the spin starts to kick in, it's not going to surprise you. ABS braking is another thing that a lot of riders are afraid of using off-road, and adventure bikes now, a lot of them have ABS on the front all the time. And as these systems have developed over the last 6 or 7 years, they've gotten better and better and better. And this one is no different. It is really good. The ABS on this bike, I actually went down a hill and forgot to turn it off front and rear, and I was already committed to this really steep technical downhill, and I felt it lock up a little bit, you know, and sort of chatter, but I just made it down the hill, no problem, and then realized I had forgotten to turn the ABS off. But basically the ABS system's really easy to control. It's just one button press and it'll turn it off for the rear or front and rear. But I ended up just leaving it on all the time because it works so well. But I did just have it on in the front and turn it off in the rear so that we could continue to slide the rear around. But as far as my confidence with this ABS system, I would leave it on all the time unless there was something super steep and technical that I just didn't want to take any risk with. But as far as like your normal trail riding, ABS is fantastic on this bike, and I think the engineers have done a great job really refining that. The only things that I was a little bit concerned about, we didn't have any handguards on this bike. That's something that you're probably going to want to put on. Another concern I have are for these new LED turn signals. They seem to be the same hard plastic turn signals that come on the V-Strom. So I didn't see any of them break on the trail, but they don't have any flexibility to them. It may have some kind of a breakaway design or something like that, but that's a little bit concerning. As far as the undercarriage protection, it just has a small amount of metal protecting the bottom of the bike. There's nothing on the sides, so a good skid plate would be a good idea. So it's not meant to be a hardcore dual sport. It's designed to be more of that trail scouting bike, just have fun out there. And again, it's a good street bike too. It can live in both worlds. It's not just some dirt bike with a plate that's gonna be tough to go on your weekly commute or get some errands done. On this bike, you could totally do that comfortably. As far as the performance, from the dual sports I've ridden, I would place it sort of in between a KLX 300 and a CRF 450 RL. The CRF 450 RL is more of a performance dual sport. This is right in the middle of those two. It's got much better power than that KLX 300, a little bit better suspension, and it's priced right in the middle of those two bikes as well. The price tag on the old DR-Z was $7,199. Now it's gone up to $8,999. So it is a big jump in the price, and I think it did scare a lot of people off. If you really compare it to the bikes that are a step up, you know, the CRF 450 RL, you're looking at 10,000 plus. Betas, you know, they're 11,000. If you want a, you know, KTM 690 or one of those kind of bikes, you know, you got to spend a lot of money. But, you know, you could also go with, say, a DR-650 and save some money. But this is completely refined. You've got the new fuel injection. You can let this thing sit in the garage for 6 months and you don't have to worry about cleaning your carburetor anymore. So there's a lot of advantages. Sure, the weight's gone up a little bit. It's still got that 5-speed gearbox. There's a few details that maybe we would have liked to see different, but overall, it's an excellent machine, and the improvements in terms of the electronics, the refinements, the smoothness, it really takes it into a new era. So we'll see. Do you think this bike is gonna make it to 2050, another 25 years? Maybe we'll get the 6-speed then, who knows? But the DR-Z is still that great machine that it always has been. So I'm looking forward to trying to ride this bike on some bigger journeys, maybe throw some bags on it and see how it does as an adventure bike. So we got a full review at advpulse.com, and you can find that link in the description. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.